Coach, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I know it's been a hectic day, but thanks for joining me. I want to start and ask, just these last 72 hours have got to be a whirlwind for you. Just how has everything been going?
It's been fast. There's no doubt. It's been really fast. We've, my family and I took the job here at Purdue. We let Coach Horton know, who we've been in touch with quite a bit through the process. Who's my boss at the University of Oregon, and let him know about the potential of this happening. He was very excited. And then just had a brief trip back home to see my wife and two children and talk with them a little bit, and we'll talk with them a lot, and watch part of a swim meet, and then boom, I'm back on a flight, and here we go.
What attracted you to this job?
Big Ten Conference, Power 5 deal. And to be honest with you, the buzz on the street nationally, at least from what we hear, is that the Big Ten's really on the up and come. And there's a lot of interest going on in baseball and the other sports out here. And for me, nationally, we recruit a lot at the University of Oregon and the other stops that I've had previously. And so when I see a lot of the players that were in these areas, it was exciting to me because I know a lot of people out here, and the talent's so good that I always wanted to dip into this area to find it. Now I'm going to have a chance.
Why do you feel like you're the right guy for the job?
Well, for 20 years of my life, I worked for 3 Hall of Fame coaches that have won a total of 3 national championships, 4 if you include the one that Coach Horton won as an assistant coach. And so I've tried to really pay attention closely. And I knew through the years, there would be a lot of opportunities that I had head coaching wise, and opted not to do that. When I first went to Oregon, left the University of Arizona, where Andy Lopez was the coach at, and left the team that won the national championship that year in 2012. And so recruited that team, worked hard to put that team together and so forth, had a tough decision to make, and left. For the benefit of my family, for the most part, it was a tough time in terms of walking away from a program that was established and really, really good to a program that was just brand new, and it had an unbelievable leader and all the successful things that you see in the other sports, but there was no precedent.
Just what challenges are you anticipating inheriting a program like Purdue as a first-year head coach?
Yeah, about the only head coaching experience I've had was in summer ball, and not even in high school. I was an assistant coach in high school for 2 years. In the NBC Collegiate League for the Wichita Broncos back in 1998, I think it was. We won a national championship, and that's about the only time that I was a head coach. And so I've been an assistant coach for 20 years. 14 of those 20 years we were in postseason play and stops in Omaha and national seeds at Oregon and so forth. And just paying attention to the mentors that I've had has been pretty much was what prepared me for this opportunity.
You mentioned Omaha. Now, this Purdue program has struggled as of late. They won just 10 games last year. How do you plan on regaining success for the program?
Well, it's going to be slow steps, and the one thing that I spoke with the administration here about was that, we're just going to try to get better each and every single day. And regardless of where the program was, it kind of reminded me of a situation when I went into the University of Arizona that actually had a little bit of a lot of history before we got there with Coach Lopez. But the recent history wasn't so good. It was 1 regional in the previous 9 years. And so going into that program, it was a turnaround. We needed to turn that program around. In the 3rd year at that program, we're in the College World Series. The facilities at that point in time were probably at the bottom of the league. There were a lot of things that the naysayers said, you can't do it here, it's not going to happen, the heyday's already passed. And the bottom line was you just put work in, and the work ethic and the grind and the everyday. You got better, you get better quick, and it's about players and the unity of it. So,
how are you spending your off season, I should ask, when it comes to recruiting?
Well, there's no such thing. The off season will come, that'll be Santa coming down a chimney, and we'll all deliver the gifts and, do that. That'll be the off season. Until that time, the summer is critical. And so there's great tournaments coming up in the next, for the next about month and a half. And until school starts, I'll probably only be back in town for short periods of time. And it's just too valuable to be on the road right now. And for me, that's the big thing. The programs that are having tremendous success right now are the ones that are having the head coach and the 2 assistants. We're allowed to have 3 on the road. And the programs that have all 3 guys out, especially the head coach, they're having a lot of success right now. So that's going to be Purdue.
But when it comes to here in the area, there's a hotbed for talent, and this program has had trouble recruiting these local players. What's your approach to luring them to Purdue?
Well, the interesting thing is the local players play in national tournaments, and they get on the road and they go to Atlanta, Georgia, and they play in the East Cobb tournaments with Perfect Game. They shoot up the road to Chicago. A lot of the stuff that they do, yeah, they'll play some games around here, and then they get on the national scene, and they see what they can do against the so-called big boys in the country, and they've always been able to hold their own. And so for me, I've always seen that. I've had relationships with the travel ball and the club coaches and the high school coaches in this area, and especially the pro scouts in this area. I get along exceptionally well with and have through the years, with no real intention of being at Purdue at any point. It just kind of showed up, and immediately that was something that I wanted to do because a lot of my family, my wife's family specifically, is from the Midwest. So.
What are your goals for this upcoming season?
Well, we're going to start slow. I mean, how good can we get right away? I don't know that. I literally got the roster handed to me about 2.5 hours ago, and I studied a little bit of it before that. I can't lie, but not too much. And so the goals and so forth of the program aren't going to change. I can't say what we're going to do next year, the following year, or anything like that in terms of timetables, but we're going to get to Omaha. The bottom line is the conference championship, Big Ten champion. These are things that the administration here were on the wide scale stream of things. There were questions about whether the administration had committed or was going to commit to Purdue baseball. All the things that I'd heard, if it was negative, all ended up being as false as I could ever have imagined. Morgan Burke, Ed Howitt, the administration, Calvin Williams, those three guys from the start of this process dispelled absolutely any concerns that I had about whether it was a budget or whether it was a competitive disadvantage that was thrown out there. I found it all to be false. Everything's here. Everything's here to be successful at a real big level, Big Ten championship. And how soon is it going to be where we're rolling in the College World Series and playing there? I can't answer that, but we're watching the College World Series right now with at least one team in the finals that probably nobody ever even knew where they were. And so if it's possible for them, it's possible for us.
You are obviously well aware that Morgan is going to be retiring in about a year. Mm-hmm. Did that play, was there any hesitance on your side when it came to accepting the job, knowing that your boss is going to be gone in a year?
I asked that question right away. And Morgan looked at me in the eye and he said, we've got a plan in place. And, for me, there was no doubt after I spoke with Morgan. On top of that, to back up for a second, before I even got on the plane and I came out to meet with Morgan Burke, whether it was Rob Mullins, who's the athletic director at Oregon, or Pat Kilkenny, who was the athletic director before him at Oregon, who established the program at the University of Oregon, brought it back, the funding with Joe Giansante out there. Those people, when I asked them about Morgan Burke, they said he's a flat-out stand-up guy. He's a 3-bullet-point guy. He's going to tell you the way it is, and he's not going to back down from any tough question. And when those people tell me he can be trusted at an extremely high level and he's a true professional, as Pat Kilkenny told me, that's good for me.
How can your experience and knowledge of where you're from, out west in California, and even spending time in Arizona and Florida, how can you use that to benefit your recruiting when it comes to here at Purdue?
Well, kids these days, it's a small country, with the social media aspect of things, especially with the streaming of games, all the stuff that's on TV. It's a small country now. It isn't like, Arizona's not that far away. And it doesn't matter where you go to school. If you're not going to go to school down the street, you're going to get on an airplane and you're going to travel and you're going to go somewhere. So why not Purdue? It's in the middle of a cornfield. There's fantastic academics. The education's unbelievable. The sports that have been established here with the success. There's everything is in place. There's a brand new facility. The academic facility and support services is unbelievable. And so for me, I look at this thing and I walked in with open eyes and open ears. And what I learned after a 2-day period, or maybe even a little bit longer than that after studying it before that, I was shocked. I was absolutely floored that everything's in place for this place to be successful.
Well, Coach, we wish you the very best. I'm sure we'll be crossing paths in the future, but best of luck with your recruiting trip up to Chicago and the rest of the way, and we look forward to covering you. Thanks so much for joining me.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.